How many times have you looked in the mirror and felt like time is taking its toll on you? But you can't quite figure out why. I'm not just talking about wrinkles, but that feeling of weariness, of accumulated weight, like life is taking more from you than it's giving back. Maybe you felt trapped in thoughts you can't shake off, or tangled up in expectations that aren't even yours. The curious, or rather ironic, thing is that many of the mistakes that age us aren't obvious. They sneak quietly into our routine, and by the time we notice, they've already stolen our energy, our peace of mind, and most importantly, our happiness. I'm Gabriel, and today, I want to talk to you about those mistakes that are making you older without you even realizing it. I promise each one will open your eyes, but stick around until the end, because the last one could completely change the way you face the years to come. Let's get started. Number 1. Clinging to the past as if it were your only refuge. The past has a very subtle way of trapping us. Sometimes it does so with sweet memories that seem to promise nothing will ever compare. Other times, with open wounds that keep hurting, as if digging through what once was could offer some magical solution. But the truth, and here's the uncomfortable blow, is that the past is nothing more than an archive, a place where everything you did and didn't do is stored, the words you spoke and the ones you left unsaid. Yet many of us treat it like the perfect refuge, the place we run to when the present feels lacking or the future terrifies us. But has living in that archive ever truly given you the peace you're searching for? I know letting go isn't easy. The past has a peculiar way of disguising itself as comfort. Going over and over what you could have said during that argument, the decision you didn't make, or who you were 10 years ago might seem harmless, but in reality, it slowly drains you. Marcus Aurelius, with his Stoic wisdom, warned us, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." If you fill your mind with what you can no longer change, how can you expect to truly live in the present? Clinging to the past is like trying to steer a ship while only looking through the rearview mirror. You miss what's right in front of you, and worse yet, you keep crashing into the same obstacles over and over. Maybe you tell yourself it's not clinging, you're just reflecting. But reflection is useful only when it leads to learning, not when it traps you in a cycle of guilt, nostalgia, or resentment. And here's the paradox. The more you dwell on the past, the less time and energy you have to build something new. It's like trying to read an exciting book, but your eyes keep getting stuck on the same page, unable to move forward. What many don't want to accept is that letting go of the past doesn't mean forgetting it. It means making peace with it. It means looking at it honestly and saying, "This shaped me, it taught me, but it no longer defines me." Viktor Frankl, a survivor of the most extreme horror, spoke of the human ability to find meaning even in suffering. And that meaning isn't found by brooding over the past, but by deciding what you will do with what you've lived. The past may feel safe because it holds no surprises, but it's also a barren place. Everything worthwhile is happening now, in this moment, while you breathe, while you decide where to focus your attention. The present, though sometimes uncomfortable or uncertain, is the only fertile ground where you can plant something that will bloom. So ask yourself, how much more time are you willing to sacrifice looking back? You don't need grand gestures to start. Maybe it's as simple as sitting down for a moment, closing your eyes, and feeling grateful that you're here now. Because what you've lived can't be changed. But what you do with this moment is still in your hands. Number 2, believing you always have to be strong for others. There's something curious about the way we were taught to live. Be strong, always strong. As if showing a crack or asking for help were an unforgivable weakness. Maybe you've spent years being the support for your family, the one who's always there to fix things, to listen, to give in. And sure, it's admirable, until you realize that this role of unbreakable strength is starting to take its toll. Because even if you don't say it out loud, there are moments when you feel exhausted, empty, like the weight of the world rests on your shoulders. But of course, there you are, putting on a brave face. God forbid anyone notices that you too have bad days. I remember the story of Elizabeth, a 70-year-old woman who wrote to me some time ago. She told me that after her husband's death, she devoted herself completely to her family. "They need me," she would say. She was the grandmother who took care of the grandchildren, the mother who helped her adult children when they had problems, the friend who always answered the phone no matter the hour. It wasn't that she didn't want to do it, but over time, she began to notice something. No one asked how she was doing. One day, her youngest daughter showed up crying because she'd had a bad day at work, and as Elizabeth listened, she realized something inside her was screaming, "What about me? Who listens to me?" But the most surprising thing wasn't that. The most shocking part, she told me, was realizing she didn't even know how to ask someone to listen. She had grown so used to being strong for everyone else that she forgot she also had the right to fall apart, even just a little. That night, Elizabeth decided enough was enough. She didn't stop being the generous woman she had always been, but she started setting boundaries. When her daughter came back with another work crisis, she kindly said, "Not today. I'm tired." At first, her daughter was surprised, even a little offended, but over time she learned to respect Elizabeth's space. And most importantly, Elizabeth learned that being strong doesn't mean being invulnerable. Strength isn't about carrying everything, it's about recognizing when you need to let go of some of the weight. Showing vulnerability doesn't make you weaker. On the contrary, it makes you more human. Epictetus said that we can't control what others think of us, but we can control how we take care of ourselves. And part of that care is giving yourself permission to be cared for, to cry, to say, "I can't do this anymore." I know it's hard. We're so used to associating strength with bearing it all that we forget there's courage in admitting we need help. But I want you to think about this. What good is it to be everyone's pillar if in the process you wear yourself down to the point of crumbling? Taking care of others is beautiful, but it cannot come at the cost of forgetting yourself. The real act of strength lies in finding balance, in allowing yourself to feel without guilt, and in understanding that you don't have to prove anything to anyone. Life isn't an endurance contest, it's a space to grow, to share, to be authentic. And that includes recognizing your own limits. Because in the end, being strong isn't about carrying it all, it's about knowing when to let go. Number 3, letting negative thoughts dominate your day. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. These words from Marcus Aurelius are a powerful reminder of how what we cultivate in our minds ends up defining our lives. How many times have you allowed a negative thought to follow you around for hours, even days? Maybe it was a worry that grew out of proportion, a criticism someone made that you couldn't let go of, or that inner dialogue that keeps reminding you of everything you think you haven't achieved. The mind can be like a garden. If you're not careful, the weeds will take over. But here's the interesting part. Those negative thoughts aren't inevitable. They're not absolute truths, even if they sometimes feel that way. The good news is that you can start changing the color of your soul, as Marcus Aurelius put it, by training your mind to focus on what nourishes you, not what drains you. And no, this isn't about ignoring problems or pretending everything's fine. It's about learning to relate to your thoughts in a different way. I want to invite you to try a simple but transformative exercise. Grab a notebook or a sheet of paper and write down 3 negative thoughts that have been following you around lately. For example, "I'm not useful anymore," "I'm alone," or "I'll never get ahead." Once you have them in front of you, write a challenging question next to each one. Is this absolutely true? Ask yourself if you have solid evidence that this thought is real or if it's just a perception. Then, write a more compassionate or realistic alternative. For instance, if you wrote, "I'm alone," you could counter it with something like, "Maybe I don't have the company I want right now, but I can seek new connections and nurture the ones I already have." This exercise doesn't erase your problems, but it helps you regain control of your internal narrative. If this exercise resonates with you, this is the perfect moment to subscribe to the channel. Here, we share tools and reflections that help you cultivate a fuller life, even on difficult days. Give this video a thumbs up if you feel it's bringing value to you, and let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from. I love knowing how far these words reach and how they're impacting your life. Remember, your thoughts aren't your enemies, but they do need guidance. Like a river that can either flow into a swamp or a crystal clear lake, your mind flows toward where you choose to focus. When you learn to question your negative thoughts and replace them with ones that empower you, you start to feel a new lightness, a space to live with more serenity. The key is to practice it every day because while you can't control everything that happens around you, you can choose how you respond from within. Number 4, putting off. Taking care of your body as if time were on your side. It's funny how we tend to treat our bodies, isn't it? When we're young, we push them to the limit as if they were indestructible machines. And as we get older, we start seeing them as accessories we can ignore because, well, they're no longer in their prime. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Your body is not a disposable item. It's the only place you'll live until your last day. And every time you decide to postpone taking care of it as if time were infinite, all you're doing is reducing the quality of those days you so eagerly want to enjoy. The problem is, we've gotten used to thinking that taking care of our bodies is a luxury or an optional task. We tell ourselves we'll start walking tomorrow, we'll eat better next week, or when we have more time, we'll finally start moving a bit more. But what if I told you that the tomorrow you keep putting off is actually a debt you're accumulating with interest? Not taking care of your body today is like mortgaging your future well-being. I want you to think of your body as a silent partner. It doesn't ask for much more than a little attention, but when you ignore it, it starts charging you with pain, fatigue, and limitations. And here's the interesting thing. Taking care of your body doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need to sign up for an expensive gym or turn into an athlete. It's about small daily decisions, as simple as choosing to walk for 15 minutes after breakfast, stretching when you wake up, or drinking more water throughout the day. In fact, I'm going to suggest a practical exercise you can start right now. When you finish reading this, take a moment to close your eyes and connect with your body. What do you feel? Where is there tension, discomfort, or even pain? Breathe deeply and make a commitment to yourself. Choose one small action you can take today to take care of it. Maybe it's going for a walk outside, preparing a nutritious meal, or simply sitting with good posture for a few minutes. The key is to do it from a place of respect, not obligation. Your body doesn't need perfection. It needs consistency. Every small gesture counts. Imagine that instead of treating your body like an enemy that only reminds you of the passing of time, you treat it like an ally that allows you to live fully. Because here's the truth. You can't experience the beauty of a sunrise, the embrace of a loved one, or the satisfaction of achieving something new without it. The next time you feel too busy to take care of yourself, ask yourself, what kind of life do I want to have in the coming years? Because while you can't stop time, you can decide how you want to face it. And taking care of your body is the most basic, yet most powerful act of self-love you can give yourself. Number 5, believing you can't learn anything new. There's something almost tragic about the idea that once you reach a certain age, you stop learning. as if the brain had an expiration date, and beyond that point, any effort to acquire something new was a waste of time. But let me remind you of a fascinating example that completely disproves this notion, the story of Anna Mary Robertson Moses, better known as Grandma Moses. This woman didn't start painting until she was 76 years old. Yes, you read that right. Over 7 decades of life before even considering becoming an artist. Before that, she had spent her life working on a farm, raising children, and living what many would call an ordinary life. But when arthritis made it too painful for her to continue embroidering, she decided to pick up a paintbrush. And guess what happened? Her paintings, filled with vibrant landscapes and scenes of rural life, ended up being so valued that they became iconic pieces of American art. Some of them are still exhibited in museums to this day. What makes Grandma Moses so inspiring isn't just her talent, but her willingness to challenge the belief that it was too late to start something new. She understood something many of us forget. Curiosity has no age, and as long as we're alive, there's always room to learn, discover, and create. What's interesting is that science backs this idea as well. Your brain, even after 60, 70, or beyond, is still capable of forming new connections thanks to neuroplasticity. That means every time you decide to learn something new, you're literally rejuvenating your mind. Yet we remain trapped in that limiting belief that I'm too old for this. And there's the real problem. It's not that you can't learn, it's that you're denying yourself the opportunity. Think of it this way. If someone like Grandma Moses could reinvent herself and find a completely new purpose at an age when most people give up, what's stopping you? I'm not saying you need to become a master at something or even seek recognition. But imagine what it could mean to learn to play an instrument, dive into gardening, try writing, or study a topic that has always intrigued you. Learning doesn't have to be a means to an end. It can be an end in itself, a way to keep your inner spark alive. The most fascinating thing about learning something new is that it doesn't just change what you know, it changes how you feel. When you allow yourself to break out of mental routines, you realize life hasn't gotten smaller with the years. You were just looking in the wrong direction. Learning brings back that sparkle in your eyes, that energy you thought you'd lost. The next time you feel like you have nothing left to offer or discover, remember Grandma Moses, the brain that still wants to learn, and yourself, because you have every right to start something new today, no matter how many years have passed. Because as long as you keep learning, you keep growing. And as long as you keep growing, life will keep surprising you. Number 6, living to please others and forgetting about yourself. Imagine you're a tree in a lush forest. For years, you've stretched your branches to provide shade for everyone around you, the birds seeking shelter, the travelers who need rest, and the small animals curling up at your roots. Your roots have dug deep into the earth, taking in just enough to keep you steady, while everything you produce, leaves, fruit, oxygen, goes directly toward serving others. And while this has made you feel useful, even needed, you've recently noticed something changing. Your branches feel heavier, your leaves fall sooner, and your roots, once strong, are beginning to shrink. Not because you don't want to keep giving, but because you've forgotten something essential. A tree that doesn't nourish itself will eventually wither. That's how so many of us live, like that tree. We spend our lives stretching our branches to meet everyone else's needs, forgetting that we too need sunlight and fresh water to keep growing. And yet, there we are, convincing ourselves it's okay to put off our own needs because, well, someone has to do it. We let ourselves be consumed by the shoulds. You should help, you should be available, you should make everyone happy. But who told you that your purpose in life was to meet everyone else's expectations? The trap lies in believing that if you're not there for everyone, you're somehow failing as a person. But that idea is nothing more than a dangerous illusion. Trying to please everyone is like chasing the horizon. No matter how far you go, you'll never reach it, because there will always be someone who expects more, who wants more, who needs more. And in the meantime, who's taking care of you? Now I want you to imagine something different. Picture yourself as that tree, but this time, you choose to stop. You look around and see all you've given. You feel proud because your shade has protected others, your fruit has nourished them. But you also realize your trunk is cracked and your roots need time to regain their strength. So for the first time, you decide not to give it all away. You take in the water and sunlight you need to nourish yourself, and you allow your branches to rest. And do you know what happens then? You bloom. Your leaves are greener, your fruits sweeter, and most ironically, your shade grows wider. By taking care of yourself, you're able to give more and give better without losing yourself in the process. Life isn't about choosing between taking care of yourself or taking care of others. It's about understanding that you can't give what you don't have. When you dare to put yourself first, you're not being selfish, you're being authentic. And authenticity doesn't just benefit others, it brings you back to yourself. Because in the end, the only should that truly matters is this: you should live your own life, not the one others expect of you. Number 7, focusing only on what you've lost, instead of what you can gain. Imagine life as a river, with every memory, experience, or relationship being a stone carried downstream. Some are small, smooth, and easy to let go of. Others are huge and jagged, so much so that it feels like the river will never fully wash them away. Now picture yourself standing on the shore, watching that endless flow of water, but your eyes are fixed only on the stones drifting away. You don't see the water flowing in front of you, the sunlight reflecting on it, or the possibilities of what's to come. You only see the stones and keep telling yourself, there goes another one, and another. Everything that mattered is slipping away. This is the problem with focusing only on what's lost. It traps you in a present you're not truly living because you're too busy looking back. It's a habit many of us develop almost without realizing it, because it hurts less to obsess over what we've lost than to face the uncertainty of what could be. But this mindset, although it may seem harmless, is a prison. Every time you get stuck on what's gone, you give up on what you could still build. If you need an example of how to shift this perspective, think of Thomas Edison. When the laboratory where he worked burned down, destroying years of research, his response wasn't to sink into despair. Instead, Edison looked at the flames and said, "All our mistakes are burned up. Thank God we can start anew." That ability to find possibility in the midst of loss isn't heroism. It's a conscious choice about where to place your attention. The problem isn't that you've lost valuable things. That's part of life and can't be avoided. The problem is that you've allowed those losses to define how you see everything else. If you believe the best is behind you, how will you ever recognize the opportunities still right in front of you? Every day you focus on what's no longer there is a day you lose the chance to create something new, no matter how small. Here's an exercise to help change that perspective. Mentally list the things you believe you've lost, those big, jagged stones the river carried away. Then, take a deep breath and make another list, this time of the things you still have, even if they seem small or ordinary. It might be your health, your ability to learn, a close friend, or even the simple fact that today you can walk under the sun. When you focus on what remains with you, you're not ignoring the losses, you're balancing the scale. Life isn't a static inventory of what once was. It's a continuous process of flow, change, and renewal. What's the point of clinging to the stones that have already gone when there's an entire river of possibilities right in front of you? And speaking of looking forward, have you ever asked yourself how much of the weight you're carrying really belongs to you? The answer could change everything that comes next. Number 8, dismissing small moments as if they don't matter. It's strange how we spend our lives waiting for big moments. We think happiness will arrive when something extraordinary happens, a dream vacation, a perfect family gathering, or that magical moment when everything falls into place and we finally feel like it was all worth it. And while we wait, we let the small things slip by, the very things that actually make up most of our lives. It's like sitting at a feast, ignoring every dish that arrives at the table while staring at the door waiting for someone to walk in with a bottle of champagne. Stoic philosophy has a very clear lesson about this. Life isn't about what you're waiting for, it's about what's right in front of you right now. Epictetus once said, "Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish that what happens happen the way it happens, and you will be serene." In other words, if you keep measuring your happiness by a standard that only acknowledges the extraordinary, you will always feel like something is missing. To change this perspective, I want to challenge you to try something small. Today, after finishing this video, find 3 simple things in your day that you can enjoy consciously. It could be the aroma of the coffee you make, the sound of birds outside, or even the first bite of a meal. The key is to pause, even if just for a few seconds, and truly be present. No distractions, no rush, no dismissing it. If it feels hard at first, try writing them down at the end of the day. It's a small but powerful habit that trains you to find meaning in the ordinary. Science, by the way, agrees with this idea. Studies on gratitude and mindfulness have shown that people who practice noticing and appreciating small moments report higher levels of well-being and fewer symptoms of anxiety and depression. It's not magic or self-deception, it's simply a shift in focus. When you choose to pay attention to what you used to ignore, you start seeing life through different eyes. And do you know what's most ironic? Those small moments we tend to overlook are the ones that stay with us. You don't remember all the days you were overwhelmed with 1,000 tasks, but you do remember how the cool breeze felt on a warm day, or that unexpected laughter you shared with someone close. What truly makes a life fulfilling isn't the grand explosions of happiness, but the collection of those tiny sparks you often let pass by. So today is the day to start. You don't need anything extraordinary, just a bit of willingness to look at things differently, because if you keep waiting for something big to make you happy, you might miss out on what you already have, an endless array of small moments that, together, are everything life truly is. Number 9, focusing on what you can't control and ignoring what you can. In 1808, Beethoven, the musical genius, composed one of the most iconic pieces of his career, the Fifth Symphony. What many people don't know is that by then, he had already begun to lose his hearing. A composer losing his hearing sounds as ironic as a painter losing his sight, but that was his reality. In his personal letters, Beethoven expressed deep despair. He even considered giving up. However, he made a decision that would change the course of music history forever. He couldn't control his hearing loss, but he could control what he did with the talent he still had. So, instead of letting tragedy consume him, he went on to compose some of the most sublime works of humanity while he could barely hear what he was creating. What makes Beethoven such a powerful example is his ability to accept what was beyond his control and focus on what was still within his reach. He faced his condition with a willpower that would have impressed even the most disciplined Stoics. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." Beethoven refused to let his loss become an excuse to stop creating. he chose to reinterpret his tragedy as a challenge, a fertile ground for greatness. His story holds a very clear lesson. We all face limitations, some of which arrive without warning. It may not be something as dramatic as losing a sense, but it could be declining health, relationships that don't work out, or unexpected changes in life. In those moments, the temptation is to focus on what we can't change, dwelling on the "why me?" But that energy leads nowhere. Both Stoic philosophy and positive psychology agree on this. The key lies in redirecting your attention to what's still within your power. I want to suggest a small shift in how you approach your days. Whenever you feel something is beyond your control, someone else's behavior, a health issue, or overwhelming external circumstances, stop and ask yourself, what can I do with what I have right now? It doesn't have to be a big action. It could be as simple as writing down your thoughts, calling someone close to you, or even accepting that today you need to rest. This habit, though small, is an act of self-leadership that can transform how you face challenges. From a neuroscience perspective, focusing your energy on what you can actually manage significantly reduces stress levels. When your brain finds a sense of control in small actions, it calms down and allows you to see possibilities where before you only saw problems. It's like wiping a fogged-up window. What seemed cloudy starts to gain clarity. Beethoven's life teaches us that no matter how adverse the circumstances, there is always something you can do to keep moving forward. It's not about ignoring difficulties, it's about making them part of your path. Because in the end, you don't control the music of the world, but you can choose how to play it with your own hands. If you've made it this far, I want to tell you something. It's not a coincidence. This is the moment when you decide you're no longer willing to let life slip through your fingers, that every day matters, and that the most important thing isn't what you've lost, but what you can still build. Everything we've talked about today, from the most uncomfortable truths to the most hopeful insights, has one purpose: to give you back the feeling that this stage of your life can be as full and meaningful as you choose it to be. And no, it won't be a matter of magic or waiting for grand miracles. It will be the result of small steps, of changing how you look at what's right in front of you and how you choose to use it. Now, I want you to take a moment to reflect on something. What has been your biggest takeaway from this video? Write the phrase, "I am Stoic," in the comments and let me know where you're listening from. Nothing makes me happier than knowing how far these words reach and how they connect with you. If this content has inspired you, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. Here, we continue exploring ideas and tools that help us live with more wisdom and purpose, no matter what stage of life we're in. And if you know someone who needs to hear these reflections, share this with them. Sometimes a message like this reaches someone right when they need it most, and you could be that bridge. Remember, life is not an inventory of what was or a countdown to the end. It's the present you have here and now, a blank canvas you can fill with new colors and shapes, as many as you want. Don't cling to what's gone or get lost in what you can't control. Focus on what you can do today, because that's what defines who you are and how you live. Thank you for sharing this space with me, and remember, every day is a new opportunity to choose to live with intention. I'll see you in the next video.